Hello and welcome to the Chaldea Games 2022. We have a raucous and passionate capacity crowd today, ready to watch one of the most hotly anticipated finals of this event. The Arts Crit Saber Hybrid Pentathlon. We now go live to the studio. Thanks, Soon. Well, an exciting finals event coming up this afternoon, and joining me to cover it in the studio is a hero who needs no introduction, and Okada Izo. あなたが私のマスターだ。Four fantastic servants competing today. Representing Japan, Yagyu Munenori. Representing Japan, Katsushika Hokusai. Representative of the League of French Philanderers, Lancelot Dulac. And an all-new competitor, representing the Shinsengumi and Japan, Saito Hajime. But what do we know about this dashing new figure? We asked those who know him best. The Shinsengumi, a police force of peerless swordsmen and servants of the Bakufu. To some, heroes. To others, villains. But none doubt their dedication to their cause. And right at the heart of this was a man of secrets. Saito Hajime. A figure so mysterious, even his style of swordsmanship remains unidentified to this day.
He is a brave warrior and an exceptional swordsman. But is he as good as me?
Shinsengumi! Well, yes, Saito Hajime is a proud member of the Shinsengumi and a fine warrior.
Unlike many of his peers, Saito survived the tumultuous Bakumatsu period, living to the comparatively ripe old age of 71. But facing perhaps his most difficult challenge to date, can the former 3rd unit captain of the Shinsengumi use this durability he showed in life to emerge victorious in today's pentathlon? So that was Saito's former Shinsengumi comrades talking about the swordsman. But what does he offer masters in Fate's Grand Order? Joining us now is Sage Chiron at the big board. What can you tell us? Thank you. Saito Hajime is a very interesting servant. I would define him as a hybrid damage servant. I know we have him listed as an arts crit servant, but I would actually define him as a little bit more than that. Regardless of this definition, his damage dealing capabilities begin with his noble phantasm, provisionally titled Mugyo. This is a single target arts noble phantasm that sees him begin by reducing their arts resistance to 3 turns by as much as 40% depending on overcharge, before striking them no fewer than 7 times. Should they somehow survive, their critical rate is subsequently reduced by 20%. That's very impressive, and I noticed the arts resistance debuff coming before the attack, so allowing him to do greater damage. Very impressive. Tell me, is there any other way for him to boost his damage? Indeed, he does. His first skill, Freely Drawn Sword rank B, reflecting what some might call an undisciplined, but I would say is a free approach to fighting. It increases both his buster and arts performance by up to 20% for 3 turns. Not only this, but his third skill, Invincible Sword rank A, increases his attack for 3 hits over 3 turns by up to 30%. But this is where things get interesting, as these skills not only improve his noble phantasm's damage, but are also the key to his critical damage niche, including, and this might get viewers at home excited, his ability to loop his NP. His first skill, Freely Drawn Sword, additionally drops up to 20 stars on the turn it is activated, while Invincible Sword increases his critical damage for 3 times over 3 turns by up to 100%. That is very impressive, and with an Arts NP and double Arts deck, he could combine those with the Arts buff, the Arts Resistance debuff, the multiple hits on his Noble Phantasm, and those immense critical hits to, yes, potentially even loop his Noble Phantasm. Exactly. He has solid Arts looping potential. I would say this is especially so if paired with Castoria, as many of today's competitors often are. making looping an even more certain possibility, not to mention substantially improving his damage potential. She brings 50% worth of battery, an attack buff, an arts buff, an NP gain buff, which is very helpful here as he lacks one himself, in addition to a variety of defensive tools. Of course, if the focus is on buffing or looping, Tamamo no Mai, Lord Elmeroi, and Paracelsus von Hohenheim, among others, work well too. Combined with Saito's innate potential for looping, these supports can very much help him get there, even if he doesn't always actually achieve his critical hits. But of course, with such powerful critical potential, Masters may want to dismiss all of this, and instead use those critical hits for Buster hits instead, given he also posts a pair of Buster cards and a Buster buff. Either way, a very impressive arts crit hybrid with a little bit of Buster there for Saito Hajime. Many thanks for that, Sage Chiron. And please give me back that voice modulator that makes us sound the same. We really should have gotten another voice actor. But now, for all of this impressive offense, does he stand any chance of survival? We now rejoin Siyun trackside, who is with our survival correspondent, Ku Helen. Thank you, Dunes. So true. What can you tell us about his survivability? As the man said, in a voice doubtless different to mine, Saito does have a one-turn evade on his second skill. Unfortunately, however, he has the true version of Mind's Eye, which also boosts his defense, rather than the false or fake version that would have added another critical buff. Back to you in the studio. Thank you. Now, Saito is undoubtedly a powerful servant capable of winning here today. But what sort of craft essences might we see him show up with? Our data science expert, Professor Tokiomi of Servantverse University, took a look at the sort of CEs you might see with Saito.
We are looking at the types of craft essences you may see on Chaldea's newest 4-star saber, Saito Hajime. As an arts crit specialist, whose noble phantasm is integral to their kit, expect to see craft essences that provide a mixture of starting battery, arts buffs, NP strength buffs, critical damage buffs, or even NP gain buffs if there is a focus on him looping. Here you can see some examples of the 5, 4, and 3-star rarity that may be useful.
Thank you, Professor Tokiomi. Now it's almost time for the event to begin, but before we do, is there anything our guests in the studio would like to add? I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Now it's time to go down to the track. The Arts Crit Saber Hybrid Pentathlon is about to begin. Lining up in lane 1, representing Japan. And the crowd are reaching fever pitch as the 4 competitors line up along the start line. Yadu Munenori, Katsushika Oi, Lancelot Dulac, who I believe is trying to flirt with the starting coordinator, Miss Cleopatra, and Chaldea's newest acquisition, Saito Hajime. And they're off! Lancelot with an imperious lead over his rivals, as expected of one of the most consistent critical damage dealers in Fate's Grand Order. With 3 turns of constant star generation, star gathering, and critical damage buffs, can anyone stop him? But what's this? He can easily loop with critical hits, but his NP only has a single hit? And he lacks any offensive buffs beyond critical damage? And his Noble Phantasm's Arts Resistance debuff hits only after it's done damage? He's certainly still a capable servant, but definitely in the same sphere as Saito and company. But wait! Lancelot, no! He's gone over to the sidelines to flirt with Tomoe Gerson! And Yagyu is having none of it. A very solid servant in his own right, dispatching of the philandering knight with little to no problem. That was a powerful surge for a servant capable of a 2-turn blitz with 1 turn of high damage, but who lacks consistent access to good damage and buffs of his own beyond this. And it now looks like he too is out of the race. Just 2 competitors remain, Katsushika Oe and Saito Hajime tied neck and neck. Oe is a highly capable welfare servant with a great NP, and who is very self-sustainable, but does need to land critical hits to generate further critical buffs. But in truth, she remains very solid and may... Hang on a moment. She appears to have been distracted. It's Miyamoto Musashi!
英霊剣豪7番勝負
And that leaves Saito Hajime to claim victory in this Arts Crit Saber Hybrid Pentathlon. I thought a pentathlon was meant to be 5 events. Wait, who's that?